this is Datila, and welcome to the TNA Post Show. As always, I'm joined by the one and only Burt Maclin, who allegedly has no relation to Steve Maclin.
How's it going?
It's going good. Before we get into tonight's show, let's talk about this NXT. Let's talk quickly about NXT. As we all know, or for those of you who don't know, Jordan Grace appeared on NXT on Tuesday night. She will be challenging Roxanne Perez for that NXT Women's title at Battleground. What were your thoughts on this, Bart?
Yeah, as somebody who watches TNA, as it should be known now, the pop that, as someone who's got back into NXT lately, it's very TNA in its production, its layout, the way they present the wrestlers backstage and in the ring. But so when Jordan got that pop, I'm not saying it's a correlation, but I think that those fans are a lot different than the typical WWE fans. I think from the pop that I saw that she got, I think they pay attention a lot more to what she's doing than maybe so the regular WWE fan does. So I was very taken back by just how insanely over she was. And so I believe she has a match next week against Stevie Turner, if I get her name right.
Yeah.
If that's her name. And then if we learned tonight, she has a open challenge at Against All Odds. So I don't know if this is, TNA's Forbidden Door, opening. It's always been open, but now, apparently they're doing maybe some stuff with WWE, which is really cool. And let me just say one last thing. In one night, I think that WWE booked a TNA wrestler way better than AEW did in the time that TNA was working with them. So as someone who has criticized WWE in the past, I don't watch WWE that much, I was really blown away.
Io says Orlando never forgets, and that's true. That's another thing too. Like, there's so many people that rag on TNA and that say, "Oh, who watches TNA?" Clearly, people are watching TNA for Jordan to get that pop.
Well, also too, I think that everyone, I think even if TNA as a whole is not recognized as much as it should be, everyone kind of knows the status of the Knockouts division and how credible it is. So if they're going to pay attention to one thing, I think this is very smart to have a knockout going there, because especially as we didn't get that with AEW and TNA. This is very smart, just because I think, you can make the argument that the Knockouts division is the top division in TNA, just because the way it's always been booked.
I'm very excited. I cannot wait to see the outcome. With Slammiversary in Montreal, are we going to see Natalia versus Jordan Grace? Will Jordan Grace walk out as NXT Women's Champion? So many questions. I cannot wait to see who Jordan Grace's challenger is at Against All Odds. This is going to be a fun ride, and we need to buckle up.
It's funny that you mentioned Natty, because with the combination of this seemed to be like some sort of partnership maybe being forming, and to Natty's contract expiring, usually there's set days that they can't work. It would be interesting to see if the two promotions could work something out where she could immediately go to TNA unless she retires or goes back to WWE. Just because I think Natty fits TNA, and I just think that she would be a welcome presence there.
I agree. I think that she's a fit for TNA, and I think that she will be welcome with open arms.
Definitely.
The only thing I want, and I know he's not part of NXT, but the only thing I want is Josh Alexander versus Chad Gable, or Chad Gable versus Speedball Mike Bailey. Just all I want. Is that too much to ask for?
And it's funny that you mentioned Josh Alexander, because while he was no longer in TNA, they did have Ethan Page debut as well, a former TNA wrestler. So, I was thinking about that too, how we might get something there. But there's a lot of possibilities, whether it's Wesley reuniting with the Rascals or, you know what I mean? So I think if it was any two brands that were going to work together, I never thought of this, but I think that these two brands fit each other the best.
I agree, they do fit each other the best, especially because they have similar styles. NXT is tape, TNA is tape. I think it'll work out a lot better.
Definitely.
All right. So with that being said, let's kick things off talking about Explosion. This week's Around the Ring featured Eric Young. We also learned from Eric Young that he's a dog dad. But I'm really liking these Around the Ring segments. I don't know how other people feel about them, but personally, I dig them. I think we learned a lot about the wrestlers outside of the ring. Let's see, wrestlers from both sides jumping on their crossover fun on Twitter. Very cool stuff. Yeah, that is cool to see. But what are your thoughts on Eric Young's Around the Ring segment?
I didn't really have much to say on that. I do enjoy them, but I just want to touch on, because usually you bring up about the format of Explosion, how we get an older match, a recap, and then the match. And I'm interested to see going forward, because if I saw right that there's not going to be any TNA on YouTube anymore. Is that correct?
Yes. We'll talk about that right now. Wrestler. Oh, hold on. Life's a Botch Show. What's up, everybody? Came by to show love. Great to see TNA coverage. Oh, well, thank you for stopping by. We always appreciate the support. Io says he likes Around the Ring. Yeah, for my understanding, as of Saturday, the $4.99 plan would no longer be airing the weekly TNA show. So you have to get the app. So this is kind of like.
Oh, what I was going to say is, now I wonder if they changed the format, because if for the people who are watching on the app, they already have the app. And since there's no, you know what I mean? So I'm interested to see if they change, because that's the only place Explosion is going to air is the app. Right?
Yeah, I'm assuming, yeah.
So I wonder, because I would like to go back to having two matches. Or if they're only going to have one, it doesn't need to be as long. You know what I mean? I would be fine with Around the Ring and then a match.
I don't know why they changed the format, but I personally like the 2-match format better than the format we have now. I said this before, and I'll say it again. TA can do so much with Explosion. Laredo Kid is digital media champion. Why is he not defending every week on Explosion? It's digital media. He should be defending every week. You could do an angle. You could do all sorts of things. Explosion's like, 40 minutes? You could do so much in 40 minutes. Build angles. Hold like a tournament or something. If you don't want Laredo Kid defending every week, or do it in an open challenge, you can have like a tournament to determine who will face Laredo Kid. Apparently, we found out who will face Laredo Kid, but we'll get into that when we get into the show. There's so much you can do with this. I don't understand why they do the recap and in case you missed it. Like, we don't need that.
Again, I agree with everything. I like what you said, especially Laredo Kid, or the digital media champion, should be in, like, there should be at least one digital media championship match a month on that, and just exclusive, just because it seems like those two things work together. But yeah, I would hope that they go back to having two matches.
Same. Io says it's the live special, so I'll be moving to TNA Plus trailer. So TNA, so the weekly shows are going to be on YouTube. Make the digital media title like the WWE Speed title. Exactly. Defend it on Explosion. I don't know, but whatever. I'm not the one that is in charge of here. So we did get a knockouts match. It was Alicia Edwards and Masha Samaj versus Sasha McKenzie and Jada Stone. I've never heard of Sasha McKenzie and Jada Stone. I'm not familiar with their work. I will say I was highly impressed with both of them, and I would gladly like to see them stick around in the knockouts tag team division, or knockouts division in general. They were fantastic. They would make great additions to the knockouts division.
I agree with you. I was more paying attention to, I like how the team of Masha and Alicia aren't just like a team that maybe you would see like in WWE other promotions, where they don't get along and they somehow just seem to win despite themselves. I like how they clearly do. They seem to be a good team. And I really like they seem to be forming some sort of cohesive unit. And I do like that just because I don't we don't need to lose any teams. And so I would prefer them to be a team going forward, and at least until because I think a lot of us are waiting for Masha to be world champion because I think she will be. But yeah, no, I do like this team. I don't like it. I'm not saying I like it more than MK Ultra, but this works as well.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I kind of did think this was going to be a scenario where Masha Samovich is going to be the dominant one and she wasn't going to work well with Alicia Edwards. But apparently she's working really well with Alicia Edwards, which is a nice change.
Yeah, and Alicia's just improved so much. Like
she has.
It's not even just about the in the ring work. Like I think that's like where the partnership works, just because the idea of Alicia being in the system, you know what I mean, so she can teach Masha Slamovich how to win, essentially, just because Masha's a lot younger and on the early side of her career, while Alicia's been in this business a lot longer.
Yeah, so they're an interesting pairing. So we'll see how long they hold the tag titles. All right, so tonight's Impact kicked off with Chris Bay versus Ace Austin. Let me see. I think that Killer Kelly comes back and causes him the tag titles. Ooh, good point, Eric. I don't know how long Killer Kelly's going to be away for, so we'll see. But good point. So as we all know, there's been some tension brewing between Chris Bay and Ace Austin, and this was Ace Austin's idea for them to go face each other, and then hopefully they can get on the same page and then go challenge for the tag titles. I thought this was a really great match, but one of the things I really liked about this is you could tell that Ace Austin and Chris Bay know each other very well.
Yeah, this was a really good match, and it's obviously didn't take it away from me, but my heart did almost fall out of my chest when I thought Ace was going to turn on it at the end, just because I don't think this group should end. I don't think this group should end that way, just based because what you said. They're just so like one A and one A, you know what I mean? Like I don't think one's better than the other, and I do think these two, along with a few other people, are the future of the company. I'm trying to remember who was saying that all night, the Twitter handle, but I completely agree with her. These two guys are like who TNA should build around going forward.
I'm on the same boat with you. My heart was like pounding because Ace Austin kept teasing it. He kept teasing turning on Chris Bay, like when he shook his hand and then he pulled him. I was like, oh crap, is he gonna attack him? But then he hugged him, and then as you can see, as Chris Bay had his back turned, it looked like he was gonna hit him, but he held the ropes open for him. So I was like, oh my god, they cannot do this to me. I had to sit through the breakup of Jared KO. I don't want to have to sit through the breakup of ABC.
Yeah, I did not want to see that. I would have been very sad, just because usually the history of one team member turning on the other is usually pretty ugly the way that they do it. No one ever breaks up. There's not ever a mutual breakup.
Io says Chris Bay should get advice from Matt Fulton on Ace. That's true. He should. We all know how that ended. So we get Xia Brookside versus Steph DeLander. This was kind of a short match. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more from both of them. By the way, ABC still has a tag title rematch. Yes, and hopefully they can come together to recapture those tag titles. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens if they fail to recapture those tag titles.
This is very smart. All companies should kind of do something like this in terms of, because for a while TNA would get whatever team would get or person would get a rematch either the next show or the next night, and usually they would never win. So I like this because it makes me think that they're gonna win the tag team titles, because the system are defending. It's not like they're not doing anything while ABC waits for their title shot. So I really like this. They're not rushing this. It's almost like ABC's having to go and improve and get it, work on themselves before they can win the belts again. I really like this.
Exactly, me too. And Mike Sweeney says, with the TNA dirty relationship starting, do you think after the promo on SmackDown, Sarah shows up in TNA for the 20th anniversary? I have been asking for AJ Styles to come to TNA since he did that video package at Slammiversary a couple years ago.
I think this does make it easier because now they don't have to wait until he's necessarily out of WWE to put him in the Hall of Fame. I think if they could definitely put him in whenever they announce it. And I think now that there's maybe a working relationship, AJ could come in to have a match. I think it's definitely feasible.
Give me AJ Styles versus Josh Alexander.
That'd be a good match.
It would be. That should be like main event. Totally, if AJ Styles comes back. All right, so we can Xia Brookside versus Steph Delander. Like I was saying, I felt like this match was really short. I wanted more from both ladies, but I get why it was short because like the whole angle with PCO, like was he helping SDL or did he intentionally cost her this match? Because Homeboy was hiding under that ring. He was holding onto that steel chair for like dear life.
Yeah, this was a weird segment. Real quick, good win for Xia Brookside. Also back-to-back roll-ups because Chris Bay did win with the roll-up as well. Xia won with a roll-up. No, this was I don't really know what to say about these segments yet. But again, I will reserve my judgment until I see more. But I'm not going to question TNA just because they know how to make lemons out of lemonade. So, lemonade out of lemons. So
that's true. I will say though, I think kind of brought this on herself. Like she was the one that was flirting with PCO. I guess she didn't think he was gonna like actually like feel something. I like how at the end, like PCO gives her this card, and you see Xia Brookside on the wrap, and she's just like clapping.
Going just real quick, just I thought of it. Going back to, I believe it was Mike that said that. Now in my head, what I want, obviously Josh versus AJ would be the better match, but for storyline purposes, I'm picturing down the road where Frankie Kazarian is champion and AJ Styles comes out and challenges him. There's so much history there, and it'd be really cool to see AJ put him over. Just because, to kind of build Kazarian, because I do think Kazarian will be world champion. That would be what I would want to see.
Frankie Kazarian is going to be world champion, especially with this whole King of TNA gimmick. It'll fit him perfectly.
Yeah, he's he every week his heel persona improves, and I also like the thing with the back and forth between him and Steve Maclin. It's very good.
We get a quick recap of Jordan Grace's NXT appearance, which we talked about at the beginning. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the next thing, which is Laredo Kid here. He's thanking all the Latinos for the support and how he's so proud and happy to be TNA Digital Media Champion. Again, as I talked about, he should be defending every week on Explosion. Why he's not, I don't know. And then First Class interrupts, and basically the whole point of this is AJ Francis is challenging Laredo Kid next week for that digital media title. And I have to say, I feel so sorry for Laredo Kid because I honestly feel like they're going to take that title off of him and give it to AJ Francis. But hey, I can't say AJ Francis doesn't deserve it. He does. He's been amazing in this heel run.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. Again, like how I just said, TNA, I shouldn't be surprised. Because I can't remember the last time someone went there from another company and did worse than from where they were previously, especially when they were in a big company. Yeah, AJ Francis has been sensational in this role. And Rich Swann is amazing as a heel.
That's Rich Homie Swan.
That's such a good name. I hope they're tag team champions eventually.
They should be tag team champions, honestly.
There's a typical tag team. You have the heavy, and then you have the athletic, the cruiserweight. You know what I mean? It's tag team 101.
Yeah. All right, so we get a big con segment. He's like running around backstage looking for Santana Marella, and he bumps into Jake something and Cody Deaner, which is interesting here because, as we all know, Con was in the design with Cody Deaner here. And I like the interaction between Con and Jake something. Like, Con basically not only is Con challenging Jake something to a match next week, but he basically tells Jake something not to listen to Deaner. He did, and look where it got him. You know, so I thought it was an interesting dynamic here, and especially with like Jake something telling Deaner that he wants him to stay out of it. Again, like Jake something lost his previous match because Cody Deaner tried to help him, and it ended up costing him here. And I feel like maybe they're not going to turn Dino here, and they're going to turn Jake something heel, because I feel like maybe Dino's going to try to get involved in this with good intentions, but it's just going to cost Jake something his match.
No, they absolutely nothing against Diener, but they need to keep Diener away from Jake something. Just because not only do I want to see this will I think this will be a better match than COD versus PCO, just because Jake something can move. I think, yeah, no, I think because I've been saying Jake something should turn heel, so I think he should absolutely smash Diener. He should, because I thought he kind of did turn on him. They kind of reconciled a little bit. But yeah, I don't want them rehashing that and like reuniting the Dieners. That's not needed right now. The tag team division loaded. They don't need them to reunite. If anything, if anything, the singles division needs more stars. So they need to elevate Jake something.
He did attack Diener with the clothesline when during that interview. They did win their tag match, but I think that next week will be very telling. And if Cody Deaner gets involved and accidentally or inadvertently cause Jake something that match, I could definitely see Jake something attacking Cody Deaner and turning heel.
He should.
So next we get Sami Callihan versus Jonathan Gresham. This was a first time ever match, and I actually really like this match. I thought it was a great match. It's, Jonathan Gresham trying to bite Sami Callihan throughout this match.
Well, if anything, Sami Callihan tried to bite him, so you think that he would have gotten sick from trying to bite him. But to me, this was less about the ref wearing the gloves and the mask, and Tom Hannafan bringing it up. It just really adds to it. Like it obviously this is kind of this is really wacky. You know what I mean? It's very Lucha Underground. The idea that Gresham's getting people sick, but now that he's basically like become an octopus, like that's what his nickname was, and that's his like character, and they're like rolling with this. I don't know. It is kind of cool. You know what I mean? I like that they're like going all like full in with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm actually digging this whole character change for Jonathan Gresham.
Definitely. He needed his wrestling ability was never in question. He just needed like something to grab you, and I think this is it.
Yeah, so this is great. This is great work. We get an interesting Giselle Shaw interview, which was conducted by Gail Kim. The thing that caught my attention was when she said when Gail Kim told Giselle Shaw she's not a diva, she's a knockout. She's been doing things like a diva. Maybe she should start doing them as a knockout. So I thought that caught my attention, because Giselle's gimmick has been being the quintessential diva. So
all I kept thinking during this segment is this is going to be your top heel wrestler / manager going forward. I think Gail Kim's going to manage her, and I hope that, because again, baby faces with managers, I don't think that's kind of weird. So even though the way that she's saying that, like where it seems like and almost like telling her that she doesn't need to like whatever you just said, because that seemed like almost like she was telling her like, oh, like because Giselle was a heel before, you know what I mean? Now I would rather see her to continue to be a heel. Gail just teaches her, like mentors her and tells her how to be a top heel. So That's why I hope going forward. Because like you keep saying, I think Giselle does take the title off of Jordan. I think she gets another match somehow.
At this point, I don't even know who's gonna take the title off of Jordan. With everything that she's been doing, who knows when she's losing that belt?
Yeah, what happened on Tuesday definitely could change plans. But I do think it should be somebody from TNA that beats her, and I still think it should either be Giselle or Masha.
I think it should be Giselle because I feel like it's time for her to get elevated. She has yet to win gold.
Yes.
So I feel like it's her turn. She should be the one to take that title. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
I have seen the quintessential knockout.
She should win. It would just be really cool to have Gail back on TV as a character, and it's not like Giselle can't talk, but it'd be very, you know what I mean? It'd be very cool.
I agree.
Because I think of Gail Kim as the best knockout of all time. So who better to be her manager?
No, yeah, you're right.
Because you heard it Giselle at the end say, "I trust you." So.
Yeah. Or maybe it'll kill Kim will start off as a manager, and maybe it'll lead between a match between the two of them.
Yeah, but that's almost like the same thing would happen with her and Deanna, right? It's not like they were teaming together or she was managing her, but I would be fine with that, But I don't know if that's what I couldn't. I just don't see that happening.
All right. Well, we just gotta wait and see what they do with this.
Yeah.
We get an interview with the system, and they're basically like talking about Joe Hendry and about how they caught Joe Hendry a cheap imitation birthday clown, which I thought was so messed up. And an interesting fact: Joe Hendry has beaten Moose and has beaten Brian Myers.
At first, I thought you were going to say, "Fun fact: Joe Hendry did used to be a clown." I was like, "That's cool."
No?
Whatever. Okay. But yes, that's what I like about this story.
Same. So, I think it was Brian Myers as this system starts to leave. I think Brian Myers tells Gia Mayer why she dyed her hair like a Nemeth brother.
That's funny.
It was. And then like Frankie Kazarian approaches and asks poor Gia like, what's his name? And she tells him Frankie. And he's like, no, I know my name is Frankie. But he's like, he gets her to call him the king of TNA.
She is great, by the way.
She is.
She's slowly becoming, I've seen a lot of backstage interviews. She's becoming near the top for me as one of the best. She's very good.
She's really great at what she does.
Well, it's the way that she's like almost like last week, how she was almost like starting the tension between Bay and Austin. She's just very good.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. So you get Steve Maclin and versus Mike Santana. And this was a great match. Things were going good until the Rascals intervened. And I think, was it you that said this? Who said it that they called Trey Miguel at the Rascals getting involved in this? Was that you?
I don't think I didn't, but I could see I could imagine somebody saying that. It would seem inevitable.
The Rascals get involved and they attack Maclin and Santana. Trey Miguel attacking Steve Maclin and Zachary Wentz attacking Santana. So maybe they come together for a match to take on the Rascals. But obviously Steve Maclin's problems with the Rascals are not over.
No, and he should just join the Rascals, and this would have all been I'm torn. This was a good match, though, leading up to it. It was very physical. And I liked it because I didn't necessarily want Steve Maclin to get, because he's already lost to Santana, correct, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want I like what they did this because it makes sense because if anyone was going to interfere, it was going to be the Rascals. So makes it, it gets out of the way. I mean, it gets out of not having to have Steve Maclin lose. So I'm all for this.
Me too. Smoke them if you got them.
And you know what? Again, hopefully we get Wesley. I'm like really thinking about all these possibilities now. So, Mania next year. Hopefully, maybe I would love an NXT TNA show. That'd be awesome.
Unfortunately, I don't got them. So, but speaking of that, instead of doing Multiverse United, like a third Multiverse United show, they should do Worlds Collide with NXT and TNA.
That'd be yes. Again, there's just Santino's in TNA. His daughter wrestles in NXT. There's just so much crossover.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be like the old Survivor Series way, where it's champion, where the knockout champion versus the women's champion. I want it like actual matches, like storylines and stuff. Yes. So I think it definitely. I hope they do like a Worlds Collide pay-per-view leading up to WrestleMania week next year. All right, so you get a Spitfire segment, and it kind of seems like not that there's tension between them, but obviously they can't get on the same page too. Like Bay and Ace here, because they're Las Ferguson doesn't want them challenging for those knockouts titles yet. So Danny Luna's getting a match with Tasha Steelz, and let's see if she wins.
If this was Bobby Heenan, I would say, or I can't think of another manager. I'm just saying I would listen. I don't know what credentials Lars has. I don't know why. What the segment's a little weird to me how he's kind of thrown him in. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Spitfire. It seemed like they had a lot of momentum, and now they just kind of have them losing.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to keep them away from the tag titles for a bit, because it's like, this is why I'm saying, like, we need more knockouts tag teams, because it's the same 3 teams. We need more variety. Like, while they're doing this storyline, okay, Havoc is MIA. Who are Masha and Alicia gonna face? Just random knockouts, random female wrestlers every week on Explosion? Like, we need, like, they don't really have a story for Masha and Alicia.
Yeah. I wish they did, just because it would just be another way to get more knockouts on TV. Yeah. That's the one weakness I would say in TNA currently.
Yeah, it's the weakest point right now. It is not to any fault of their own. They just haven't been able to replace all the knockouts tag teams that they lost.
That's why I think you can maybe argue that it would have been better, instead of bringing back the knockouts title, just maybe introducing some sort of knockouts mid-card title, just because it's easier to book. You know what I mean? That's easier to book. You don't need as many people.
That is true, but at the time that they bought the knockouts tag titles back, they actually had like a variety of teams.
They did and they didn't, though. But if you think about it, I think they had 4 instead of 3, and it wasn't like that. Like you said, you're calling for more storylines. It doesn't matter how many teams you have, unless you have the storylines there. You know what I mean? Or at least having plans to get them on TV.
Yeah. So I just hopefully they rectify it within the coming months and we get more knockouts tag teams.
Yes.
We get Leon Slater versus Mustafa Ali. This match came about because in a digital exclusive, Leon Slater confronted Mustafa Ali about him being afraid of Speedball Mike Bailey. And what's his Campaign Singh now accepted the match on Mustafa Ali's behalf. So I have to say, like, I really want to see Speedball Mike Bailey versus Mustafa Ali. Apparently that happened on Prestige Wrestling, but it has yet to happen here on TNA. So when the day it comes, I know it's going to be a banger.
I forget what song it is, but I forget what song it is by 50, but I believe he said he was on a Champagne Campaign. Just want to throw that out there real quick. Again, whether it's Jake something with Diener and then or Mustafa Ali with Singh here. It's like they're letting their, these guys are speaking for him. They're getting him into trouble. Ali won this match. Slater looks really good. Like he's really good. And then even in backstage, like you can see that he has mic skills. This match was, I think, probably my second favorite match of the night. Obviously, the first match being my favorite. But no, this was awesome. Ali continue. I don't see. You're talking about who's going to beat Jordan. I don't know who's going to beat Ali. Like I said, I really could see him because we talked about last week how through no fault of his own, he was supposed to get the Kofi spot. Who knows if they would have booked him to win it. But I think that if any company he's going to be, if he feels like a world champion, it's definitely TNA. And I think option C is the way he could do it. It would make sense. And obviously he said he's not going to lose in his hometown, so I just don't know who on the roster is going to beat him.
This match with Leon Slater and Mustafa Ali was great. I really enjoyed it. Leon Slater's only 19 years old. He's got so much potential. He's definitely a star in the making. And he will be future X Division champion. But yeah, Mustafa Ali did win this. I think Mike Bailey could take it from him. And I think that's why they're kind of holding off on that match.
Yeah. I'd rather have them, if they're going to have him drop the title, I'd rather have it to be somebody new. Or, like, right here, you could argue maybe Slater almost got him tonight. Slater should be the one to take it off of him. I would be completely fine with that. But as of right now, I don't see who Ali's losing to.
Yeah,
it's just
same.
because, what?
I say, yeah, same. I can't see who he would lose to. He's definitely not losing to Trent in his hometown of Chicago.
That's why I think he should do option C and eventually win the world title.
Yeah. I don't know how long Ali's contract is for, if he even has the contract, but we have to wait and see how this plays out with Mustafa Ali. But he's a great addition so far.
Yes.
So, Moose is looking for Matt Hardy. He hasn't found him yet. And we get Joe in the main event is Joe Hendry versus Eddie Edwards. And of course, before the match, Joe Hendry cuts his promo and he talks about how he says that he gets squeamish because he's looking at a middle-aged man rocking a faux hawk.
Yeah, and they had the nerve to call him a clown. This is from the way he won, and then this is the first time I really am starting to, and then just his storyline, I think that they're finally starting to, doesn't matter if the fans believe in him, management has to believe. I think the management, people in the back are really starting to wanting to push him to the top, which he should be. If anything, before, and I've said a lot of people are going to be world champion. If anything, he should be world champion next. Because I feel like he's been in TNA for a while. And it seemed like they were elevating him, digital media champion, maybe tag team champion. And then it kind of got stagnant. He should be the next world champion.
I have to say, before I get into that, I like how on commentary, Matt DiRio was talking about, Joe Hendry and his platinum blonde hair and brown mustache. And Tom Hannigan was like, I know you're not talking about hair.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's a very good, that's heel 101 right there again. Yes. Obviously pointing out something that you shouldn't be, you know what I mean? You shouldn't look at you. You know what I mean? That was very funny then.
Yeah. Henry, I says Henry Honor. Yes. So in terms of the match, with this victory, Joe Hendry has officially defeated all three members of the system. And
that's what I was saying. Yeah, keep going. No, go.
He's defeated. He took the digital media title off of Brian Myers. He retained against Moose, and now he's beaten Eddie Edwards here. And Joe Hendry has been on a roll as of late. This should elevate him to the world title picture. It really should. Now, I think that the problem, how you said he got stagnant, I think the problem with that was maybe his tag team with Yuya was supposed to last a lot longer than it did, but it got cut short because Yuya's excursion ended. So I feel like had his excursion not ended, he'd probably be teaming with Yuya, and I feel like they probably would have had a short stint as tag team champions.
But
You know,
for me, oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Keep going.
yeah. I just feel like it's just that it got cut short because his excursion ended. Eric Isaac says Henry Mayer is running wild, brother, sister. Yeah, it is. It's running wild, and like I said, this should elevate him to world title status.
See, here's the thing for me. They almost went in reverse. Usually people start out in a tag team, and you've kind of see years later, like when people are thrown into a tag team, like after having a singles run, I don't know, just doesn't kind of seem to bode well for them. So to me, it got stagnant when they almost put him in a tag team. Not because look at him and Yuya were over, but after he lost the digital media champion, he should have immediately been elevated, starting to go for the main event title. You know what I mean? Like because to me, after it's almost like he's started over after he left Yuya, and like now he's finally like, because you could totally build a program now of him. He's beaten all three members of the system, and now one of the systems members that he's beaten is world champion. You could totally turn that into a storyline. I just don't know if at this time they're in their minds they're having Moose drop the title to him.
The problem right now is that there's so many people in that world title picture. Is you got Mike Santana, who will probably become world champion. You got Frankie Kazarian. You got Matt Hardy challenging Moose. You got Nick Nemeth, who still probably has unfinished business. And it's like, who's it gonna be? You get me? Like, I feel like they might give the tag titles to the Nemeth brothers. I don't think Matt Hardy's beating Moose. I'd be surprised if he did. So if Matt Hardy doesn't beat Moose, logically, who's next in line? Mike Santana?
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Matt Hardy's winning. I don't think Nick Nemeth is winning anymore. The people I think are eventually going, like, that's what I'm saying. I think it's in the main event scene that as like TNA, I think it's Maclin, Santana, and then Joe Hendry. And then obviously Kazarian. So, and I don't think it's going to be Kazarian versus Moose. That's why I think Joe Hendry is, you could probably argue, is the top face in the main event scene. I think they need to find a way to prolong this a little bit. Maybe Joe Hendry winning in Slammiversary. That would be pretty big. I would like to see that. Because then maybe like down the line have, I don't think it's going to be Kazarian versus Moose. So yeah, I think they need to find a way to keep this going to Slammiversary, and at Slammiversary it should be Moose versus Joe Hendry. That's what it should be.
I also says Henry has to be serious a bit in that world title conversation. Also, Bound for Glory series turn is the answer. LL. Well, he didn't do a song on Eddie Edwards, so I don't know. I mean, I do think hashtag Joe Henry for world champion. Let's get that trending, people. But it's just
I think
so many.
I think the way he won is him showing he's getting serious.
With
that, but I agree with Kyle. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I definitely do think he should be world champion. He should get pushed to the world championship. If he doesn't, he's just gonna be stuck in the mid card, and he shouldn't. But that's just my opinion. All right, last but certainly not least, at the end of the main event, we had Moose and Matt Hardy get into a brawl, and like Moose ended up wrapping a chair around Matt Hardy's neck and hit him with another chair. Obviously, she's trying to injure him before his match against all odds. What did you think of this segment?
Well, it kind of seems like an exercise in futility, just because I don't think that you can break something even more when it's broken.
That's true.
Like, I guess he maybe was trying to shatter him. but Matt's already broken. So, you know why this was a heinous attack. I see Matt. I'm looking forward to because I think we're 14 days away, and like you said, I don't think Matt's winning, but I do like this build so far. Even though I'm not a fan of the match, again, they're making me want to watch the match, and that's all TNA can do.
I wonder if against all odds it's the beginning of the end for this system. You know, do the Nemeth brothers take the tag titles, or do we wait until Slammiversary?
Yeah, it should be done on a bigger show.
Io says, will Matt make it to Against All Odds? That's the question, especially after this heinous attack by Moose. All right. So with that being said, that concludes the review. I think that this was such a great show. I'm hoping with this partnership with NXT, we get more eyes on TNA, and I hope that people stop sleeping on TNA. This show was incredible. They're working with NXT. What more do people want to finally start watching TNA?
Well, I think that they're going after the right fans. So that's smart on them. This is a very good strategy.
Definitely. All right, Burt, as we get ready to wrap up, do you have any comments you want to say?
Just watch TNA. I've been saying it. I try to say it every week. But yeah, especially now with, it seems, this TNA NXT that is forming. If any time to get on the TNA bandwagon, it's right now.
Where can people find you on social media?
On X at Burt Maclin 11.
You can follow me on to X at Datila_. I talk all things wrestling. I go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, occasional Saturday, Sundays on my YouTube channel, Rangers of Wrestling. And of course, thank you guys all so much for watching. For the continued support, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live or whenever Body Slam goes live. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.